Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, I want you to listen to how several modern women try to sell the idea that they're not sad about not having kids or a husband. They say it's a choice, that it's empowerment, that they're living their best life. But when we take a closer look, the reality is different. The Wall doesn't forgive, and neither does loneliness. Before we dive in, smash that like button and subscribe. We're racing to 150K subscribers before March, and you can help make it happen.
Reasons why I'm scared of marriage. Number one, what if my husband is frugal? Number two, what if my husband puts me on a budget? Number three, what if my husband gets lazy and wants to sleep in separate bedrooms every night? Number four, what happens if my husband gets sick of me and bored and we no longer are affectionate with each other? Number five, what if he starts to monitor how many coffees I drink and tells me that I would save X amount of money if I had coffee at home? Number six, what if he tells me that I already have enough shoes and I don't need any more? Number seven, what if we're out to dinner on a date and he tells me that I don't need dessert tonight? Feel free to follow for part two.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
This is pure gold for understanding how many people see marriage today, not as a union, but as a contract for personal benefits. Look at the list. Everything revolves around, what if my husband doesn't let me do what I want with his money? There's not a single mention of what she's going to contribute or how she'll make the relationship work. Just fear that the husband might have standards or expectations. The most ironic part? If a man made a list like this, saying, what if my wife gains weight? What if she stops cooking? What if she no longer wants to be intimate? He'd be crucified on social media. Here's the trap. They want a man to pay, but they don't want him to have a say in how the money is spent. And then they wonder why fewer and fewer men are interested in getting married.
I'm at the age where everybody is getting married, everybody is getting engaged, people are popping out babies like no tomorrow. And maybe I need to start sitting down with these people and asking some really hard-hitting questions. And I'm so afraid of marriage and having kids. And it's not because I don't think that I have what it takes. I'm so afraid of never being selfish for the rest of my life. And I'm so sad seeing my friends who are moms and then hearing other relatives in my family say things like, you can't do stuff like that, you're a mom now. And it's like, dad is right there and he has not changed his life at all from the moment he conceived this child to the child now being 4 years old. And even being a wife, I feel like there is so much sacrifice that goes into being a wife and maybe not so much into being a husband, especially because so many men are walking into these relationships thinking that now that they have a wife, they have someone who's going to pick up after them, somebody who is going to do all their laundry and cook all the meals. And I have this fear that I'm going to be I'm going to want to stay home. I'm going to want to take care of my household and I'm going to want to raise my children by myself instead of having to work 40 hours a week. And I'm so scared that if I do that, a man is going to one day be able to look at me and be like, you were able to do that because of me. My career allowed you to have this type of lifestyle. And that chills me to the bone because as someone who is working right now, yes, I still live at home, but I have lived by myself. And do you know how many things I could accomplish in a day if my laundry was always done for me? If I didn't have to think about what was going to be for dinner because I knew it would be on the table waiting for me? Do you know how successful I would be? Do you know how many ideas I would have and how much energy I would have for the things that I'm passionate about? And even just grocery shopping these days. I'm doing groceries for a little 1-2 snack and every single time it's coming up to over $100. You cannot tell me that marriage is not also an economic proposition and also not something that we have to do almost. If you want to be a homeowner, if you want to have a sustainable life, marriage is a really good looking option. And even if you have the best partner in the world who is a man, you're gonna end up 9 times out of 10 being the default parent anyways. The parent that the child wants whenever they're sick. The child is going to gravitate towards you because that's just a natural, normal ass thing. And I love that I'm alive during this time where we're having conversations about the realities of marriage and the realities of parenthood. And I love that the pressure is so much less than it was 10, 20 years ago, but that it's still present. It's honestly so much to think about. And it's Is it worth it? Are these things that I really want? Is this something that I really have to do? Or can I live a fun and exciting life without it?
Here we have a single woman at the wall, worrying about problems she doesn't even have while still living with her parents. Her entire speech revolves around fear and sacrifice. But the most revealing part is when she says she feels like men don't have to change their lives when they have kids. Like, what kind of alternate reality is that? Men literally work longer hours, take on more risks, and shoulder the financial burden so that she has the luxury of staying home. But instead of seeing it as a partnership, she views it as a threat. On top of that, this idea that marriage is just a financial transaction is the result of the extreme individualism that has taken over the minds of many modern women. She wants a husband, but she doesn't want the commitments that come with being a wife. She wants marriage to be optional, but she still wants the financial benefits of one. And then she wonders why she ends up at the wall.
Okay, why is no one talking about that it's really freaking scary to get married? You're just seeing all your friends on Instagram being like, 100 days till I get married to the love of my life. Oh my gosh, everything's rainbow and butterflies. And you're here like, I'm freaking out. What if I'm making a mistake? I don't know if I'm making the right decision. What if like this is all wrong? And you're like doubting everything. And then you feel guilty because you're like, well, Susie's so excited for her wedding. Why can't I be excited for my wedding? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my relationship? There isn't anything wrong with your relationship. You might just be someone who feels really deeply. You might be someone who is a little bit more sensitive, or you might be someone who has had really bad anxiety in the past and has always struggled with life transitions. That was me. And so when these big transitions or life events happen, you might freak out, and that's totally okay. But I know it sucks because you want to feel excited. You want to be like, I'm so excited to get married and my wedding's in 100 days and everything's rainbow and butterflies. And then it's not. And then you get really bummed. And I get that because I was also there. So all in all, I just want to normalize that it is really scary to get married for a lot of people. And just because no one's talking about it doesn't mean that people aren't feeling the same exact way as you. I'm putting it out there. I felt that way. I was freaking terrified. But guess what? It all worked out. And I was able to work through my anxiety because I wasn't actually afraid of getting married. I was afraid of like all of these other things that were just like coming up as a fear of getting married. It was a whole thing. But now I started engaged and anxious because I know that this is a real thing that people need help with. And that's why I'm here to help you. So if you are maybe just like an anxious person and you are all of a sudden doubting everything about relationship, you're overthinking it, you're questioning it. Maybe you're not even engaged yet. Maybe you are engaged, but you're like, okay, something is not right here. Even though like it is right, like everything in your relationship's amazing, you're just questioning it. You're in the right place. So first things first, if you are feeling this way,
Brothers, on the wedding day, only the man marries for love, the woman marries for a lifestyle. And here's the proof. Why so many doubts, so much anxiety, so much fear? Because for many, marriage isn't about the relationship. It's about what it represents. It's not about being with the man they love. It's about making sure they're making the best financial and emotional decision for their future. If it were truly about love, there wouldn't be this much fear. But when you know you're signing a contract that determines your standard of living, of course, you feel anxious. Because it's not just, do I love him? It's, will he give me the life I want? While the man is happy to get married because he loves his woman, she's busy running mental calculations to see if he's the best investment.
Did you know that being childless and husbandless is actually one of the most powerful things you can be as a woman? Yeah. And I'll say that again because I know it's going to ruffle some feathers. But the feathers need to be ruffled because for all the young women out there, myself included, who felt or have felt or are feeling like they are behind in life because they do not have a husband, they do not have children. Did it ever occur to you, my love, that maybe there are better and bigger things that God is trying to do in your life right now? And maybe he wants you to focus on your relationship with him. That's the man you need to invest into God. Because it's not like I don't ever want a husband and kid. Maybe one day. I was always the woman. I'm telling you, my whole life dream and goal centered around a husband and marriage and children. And, you know, God put it on my heart at the beginning of this year that maybe God has bigger and better for me waiting. And I don't need the husband and children to get that. Maybe I can do that all by myself with God's help. Men are great, you know, like if you find one that treats you well and makes life better, by all means, babe. And if you are married and if you do have children, I hope that you are living in your blessing, in the blessing that you have prayed for, because that's all we ever want. But I am just trying to encourage the young woman watching this video that has just dreamt and hoped and prayed as a little girl until she grew up to have this husband and kids. And babe, there is so much more in life to that. I promise you. I promise you. And if it's meant to be, it's going to be. Okay? So just chill out. But there's a reason why the rich auntie that has no kids is happy, stress-free, and living her best life. Right, because she has no kids.
Hey, bro. What? Oh, my God!
Brothers, the wall doesn't forgive. Here we have yet another attempt at self-convincing disguised as empowerment. Not having a husband or kids is the most powerful thing you can be as a woman. Really? If that were so true, she wouldn't need to repeat it like a mantra. The reality is, when someone has everything covered, comfort, money, free time, life starts to lose meaning. That rich aunt with no kids she talks about might be able to travel and enjoy luxuries. But tell me, who's going to be there when she's 60 and no one calls her on Christmas? This kind of speech is just emotional anesthesia to justify choices that, deep down, they know don't lead to real happiness. Because she's hit the wall, and the wall doesn't forgive.
When I tell people I don't want to have kids or I don't want to be married, and they tell me, oh, no, you're going to change your mind. You're going to meet a guy and you're going to change your mind on those decisions. I always ask them, do you think I'm stupid? And then they'll try to save themselves with some bullshit of, no, it just takes the right one. Da, da, da. But I love to follow up that conversation with, am I stupid? Because you must think I'm stupid to be 28 years old and have been making decisions up until this point in my life that have got me here. But that one really big decision of having a kid or being married, I don't know about that. I don't know myself that much. Or you're telling me that decision is actually not mine. And that even though I've decided and I've told you I'm not going to be doing these two things, it's actually going to take another man's opinion and decision on my body, whether or not we're going to have kids. Like, you must think I'm weak, I'm stupid. Which one is it? Choose one way to diss me. How are you going to choose all of them? I recommend you use this because although that person will never speak to you again, it does give you that chance to go head to head with someone who has like deep rooted misogyny living in them. And honestly, those people need to be shutted up the most.
The level of aggression here is impressive. No one insulted her, no one called her stupid, yet there she is, ready to fight a shadow. It's like a poor person saying they don't want to be rich when they've never even been close to wealth. Just like it's not the same for a single woman to say she doesn't want kids when she doesn't even have a partner to make that decision with. Talking in theory is easy, but it's a whole different story when reality comes knocking. But here's the key point. People say you'll change your mind because they've seen this story play out over and over again. It's not misogyny, it's simple observation. How many women who once said, I don't want kids or marriage, end up desperately trying to start a family at 35? Time puts everyone in their place. And when that moment comes, who will she blame? Because the wall doesn't forgive, and neither does reality. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. If God really had something greater for her, why does she need to keep repeating it like she's trying to convince herself? If not having a husband or kids is so empowering, why do the women who choose that path keep justifying it instead of simply living it? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video.